Hey guys, George at SoundTraxx here. This week, we're going to talk a little bit about speed steps. I'm sure you guys have all heard the terms 14, 28, 128. What does all that mean? And how can that work for you? Well, we're going to talk about that here. So let's get started. Now, when it comes to DCC operation takes the throttle 0 to 100% and divides it up by either 14, 28, or 128 portions. Now, as you can imagine, if you're looking at a pie and you're cutting it into 14 pieces, 28 pieces, or 128 pieces, the 128 pieces are going to be much, much smaller pieces. Now, if we look at a DCC throttle, when we're talking about speed steps, we talk about the percentage. So in 14 speed step mode, when we actually increase one speed step in 14 speed step mode, we actually are increasing 7.14% of the throttle. That's a pretty big jump when we're talking about control. So what happened was later on, the NMRA and the DCC committee actually came out with now 28 speed steps. And 28 speed steps allows us to increase the throttle by roughly 3.57%. So a much smaller portion than that 7.14, but still a fairly significant size. Now, later on, they came out with 128 speed steps. Now, at 128 speed steps, going into 100% of the throttle means that we're only increasing the throttle by 0.78%. So as you can see, it's much smaller increments. So when you're operating your model, ideally we recommend that you run in 128 speed step mode. Yes, that's a lot of speed steps between 0 and 100%, but still you get those small, minute changes. So to show you this, we're going to take this Atlas-840CW and we're going to move it first in 28 speed step mode at speed step 1. So you can kind of see how this works. So to do this on this NCE throttle, down here on the bottom, we actually have a button that says 128 and 28. And we're going to push that button, and in the window, we're going to see speed step 0 to 8. So we're going to go ahead now. Our locomotive is in 28 speed step mode. So now we're going to move at speed step 1. So we're just going to use this INC increase button one time. Now you can see that it's moving fairly slow, but it's still moving relatively fast. Now we're going to bring the locomotive back. Now we're going to press our 128 button again. Now you're going to see up in the window speed step 128. Now when I move my locomotive at speed step 1, you can see how much slower the locomotive is moving by comparison. Now one of the other features we have in our Tsunami 2 is called switching mode. And switching mode actually takes your locomotive's commanded speed step and cuts it into 1/2. Therefore, you could be going at speed step 1, enable switching mode, and now you're actually moving at speed step 1/2 of speed step 1 of 128, or roughly about 0.38% of 100% throttle. So again, we're going to move our locomotive back. I'm going to enable function 14. So here we're going to do option 14. Now we can see that function 14 is on. So now we're going to go at speed step 1. And you can see how much slower this locomotive is actually moving even now. Now, what does this all mean? Now, when we're looking at the decoder, obviously we want to try to run in 128 speed step mode. So that's going to be a setting in your throttle. Whether you're using an NCE or SoundTraxx or MRC or any of the other brands out there, you're going to want to run in 128 speed step mode. Now, when we look at CV29, you actually have a bit in CV29 that distinguishes between 14 speed step mode and then 28 128. Well, what difference does this make? Well, what actually is the difference between 14 speed step mode and then 128 speed step mode is the location in the information packet as to the headlight command. So the decoder is following the commands for the speed, but in the ones and zeros that are seriesed as a command, the headlight packet may be here in 14 speed step mode, but it's actually over here in 128 or 28 speed step mode. So you really want to make sure that you're matching so that you don't have any problems running your headlight. But I will tell you this, as far as the NMRA is concerned, the NMRA has pretty much discontinued use of 14 speed step mode. Some of the last decoders that have been using 14 speed step mode have actually been discontinued. There's no real need for it. And on this NCE power cab that I'm using right now, you can't even access 14 speed step mode. So you don't really have to worry about that too much. But what you want to do is in CV29, you do want to make sure that you have that 128/28 speed step mode bit enabled so that the decoder knows where the headlight command is, and then it will follow the DCC commands appropriately. Now, for more information, please visit our website at SoundTraxx.com. Be sure to check out the user's guide where you can see all about speed steps, what they mean. You can see some speed table graphs and how to adjust a custom speed table for your Tsunami 2 or your Blue Nami decoder today.